My husband had an affair with my best friend during a manic episode and they planned to run away with my baby. Now, he's begging me to take him back and she's going to prison. So I, 26F, have been with my husband, 26M, since we were young teenagers. We got married last year and have a 6-month-old daughter together. She is the light of both our lives as we both came from broken homes and want a better life than we lived growing up. I met my best friend a few years after I met my husband. We used to live in the same neighborhood and casually began to hang out. She lives with both her parents and siblings as she is studying to get her bachelor's degree. At first, she didn't like my husband. Said that he was clingy and tried to insert himself into our friendship. She was civil to him because he was my romantic partner. For context, my husband has bipolar type 2, autism, and PTSD, and it causes him to be a little socially awkward and miss certain social cues and taboos. I love him regardless of it all. Over the last few years, we have been hanging out a lot more. She comes over for a few drinks, we go to movies, and even visit local attractions together. We all three have a good time, and my husband does try to make nights for just the two of us often, too. However, last year my husband and I found out we were expecting a child together in January. I fell ill because, at the time, I was working in a fast food place. I threw up and went to the doctor. Then I found out I was 8.5 weeks pregnant. My life changed and I became more busy to get myself ready for motherhood. My best friend saw me less and less and we couldn't talk as much. My husband and I got married almost a month and a half after discovering we were going to become parents. That's when our dynamic changed. I recently applied to school and am currently in college trying to get a law degree so I can become a paralegal and get to law school. I'm also a stay-at-home mom while doing college too. I've been super busy. One day my husband gets a text, and it's from my best friend. She asks if they can talk, as she was upset. He took the phone call with me protesting and a few minutes later said, "Sandra, we need to go get Carla. Her father is picking a fight with her." I got upset as we were watching a movie together and I had just gotten the baby down for bed. We go to her house, which is about 20 minutes away, and she stays with us for a night. As I get our daughter back down, Carla asks to cuddle with the two of us in our bed. I was hesitant because I have issues with claustrophobia due to a traumatic experience as a child, but my husband gave the go-ahead. So we settled in for the night. Carla's dad apologized and she headed back home. Once she was gone, I blew up on my husband. What he did was not only inappropriate, but was disrespectful to my boundaries. Ever since, when she has an issue with her dad, she calls my husband and vents. One day, while my in-laws were staying with us, my mother-in-law overheard a convo between my hubby and Carla. She was concerned and asked me if I was okay with it. I said, no, not really, but every time I bring it up, he gets defensive, saying that she needs help, that she is going through a hard time, etc. It is important to note that my mother-in-law was cheated on in the past by her ex, my husband's father. We are also extremely close, and she sees me as a daughter. She hates cheaters with a passion, and my husband, James, was using the same excuse as his father did. She asked to speak to him privately and walked to our living room. They got into a heated shouting match and James apologized to me. He said he didn't know that it was hurting me and causing issues in our marriage. I asked him, how would he feel if I had asked him if another man could sleep in the bed with us? He kind of deflated and tried to say, it's different. His stepfather, Mark, spoke up and said, it is the same. You're uncomfortable with it. So is she? Quit with the excuses. James respects Mark quite a lot. Mark raised him since he was 8 while his biological father was in and out of the picture. Once the dust settled, my husband truly apologized to me for his actions and said that he would do better. I kissed him and that was that. However, that was not the end of the issue. Lately, Carla has been calling him 3 to 8 times a day. She says it's because she is bored and has no one else to talk to. So I snapped. I called him out over his nonchalance about the situation. About how when she calls, he answers, how it is making me feel like a third wheel in my marriage, etc. His response was, she's just lonely. You're letting it get to you. That night I slept in the living room. I'm starting to suspect that she is trying to monopolize his time. She calls him for over an hour each time. When she calls, they talk, she complains about her life, etc. It's almost like she is his girlfriend, and I am starting to find this relationship troubling. It's getting to the point where it is affecting my marriage. Also, I know he isn't cheating on me. He's at home more often than not and I have full access to his electronics as does he to mine. Update 1. Everything about this situation sucks and I don't know if I will be okay for some time. My baby and I are currently staying with my friend, Tanya. To start with, James and I are getting a divorce. Carla is no longer a friend to me or our mutuals. The betrayal is too deep for her to be friends with our group. As most people assumed, James and Carla are indeed having an affair. It started about 3 months ago and has been physical for a month. They were planning on just up and leaving after James served me divorce papers, and they used the ruse that he was helping her through emotional issues to hide the fact. I was crushed. She wanted to clear the air before it got worse. That was when she dropped a huge bombshell. James was going to try to get me to terminate my rights to my child for Carla to adopt her. The reason they had for this was that my BPD diagnosis a few years ago made me unfit to be a mother and he was sure that the courts would agree. She then handed me 2 separate stacks of paperwork and left. I am contacting a lawyer immediately. I was seriously hurt. Carla was a snake and only told me this so she wouldn't feel guilty. However, I am not letting my soon-to-be ex-husband bully me into terminating my rights. I called him afterward and it got very heated. James just sat there in silence. I was crying and I pleaded with him to tell me what I did wrong. I had a near-fatal complication with the delivery of our daughter where I bled for my entire labor. I had to have 2 blood transfusions and haven't fully recovered from it. I was not cleared for any extraneous activity for 3 months, including lovemaking. James was getting unsatisfied with all my doctor's appointments and not getting everything that he wanted. I was in pain and ended up needing another procedure to remove some placenta that didn't naturally come out. I then had to have my tubes tied because if I had another child, it would be life-threatening. James wanted at least 2 more kids, and this put an end to his plans. I married a monster. We were together since we were 15, and this is how he repays me? I thought I knew him. He was acting so caring and nice to me through it all. I am absolutely heartbroken. There is no chance for a healthy co-parenting situation, so I'm fighting for primary custody with supervised visits. Carla will not have any access, as I will ask the judge to make a clause preventing her from interacting with my daughter. I contacted his mother and Mark this morning. They are furious that James is doing this to me, and are helping me foot the cost of a lawyer because I'm a stay-at-home mom and college student. They have kicked James out, and he is now staying at our old house with Carla. He did give me the courtesy of letting me get my stuff and didn't put up a fuss about me taking what I wanted. He told me that he would keep in contact for divorce proceedings. Update 2. I spoke to a lawyer who is helping me at a reduced rate, and my in-laws are contributing to the cost. With all the info that I have, including some threatening texts from Carla and James, I have also decided to file for a protection order. They were even stupid enough to send me a text that pretty much confirmed the blackmail. I intend to use this to my advantage in the upcoming divorce proceedings as evidence of emotional abuse. John has continued to maintain that I need to terminate my rights to our daughter so that he can run away with Carla, but I shut that down. My little girl is the light of my life and my only chance to be a mom, which is something I have always wanted to do. I finally got a clean bill of health from my doctor after months of dealing with postnatal complications. Needless to say, no more babies for me. I go to court on Friday for our divorce proceedings. We have a mediator that my lawyer is speaking to directly, so I don't have to deal with James's bully tactics. My lawyer is a no-nonsense kind of man, and I like that about him. My in-laws have decided to cut ties with James after this because openly disrespected them, and they gave me a place to stay after I was kicked out of the house and because of him threatening me. The emotional anguish he has been putting me through has been too much. They've always seen me as their own daughter and treated me as such. They are just as angry at James for his involvement in all this as I am. That's why they decided to foot the cost of a lawyer since I was a stay-at-home mom. My therapist has upped my therapy sessions to 3 times a week. I was also formally diagnosed with DID recently, which only came to light when I blacked out in a therapy session. My therapist and psychiatrist have been communicating and have suspected for a while that I have it, but it was confirmed after my recent development in therapy. I haven't told James this and never intend to. My mother-in-law does know and has been my rock through all of this. Some people said that I moved out of the house too quickly for it to ring true. I have very few possessions and had to go back and grab the baby stuff. My soon-to-be ex and Carla had gone on a weekend getaway to my dream location, which I knew they did to hurt me even more. The pics were sent to me by my current friend, who gave me a place to stay for a few days before my in-laws let me live with them. My baby girl is adjusting to life without her daddy around all the time, although she is super fussy and I am sure she does miss him. It breaks my heart into pieces. Update 3. I have some great news. My baby girl is safe with me. My lawyer pulled through for me, and my ex wants this divorce to be over as soon as possible. First of all, I got full custody of my daughter with supervised visitation from my ex. His own words came back to haunt him. I had proof of all his threats and the blackmail of him trying to get me to sign away my rights, and the judge wasn't happy. He tore into James and Carla about their behavior, how they tried to blackmail me, and how they were lucky that I didn't press charges for extortion. Because of the evidence of their behavior towards me, he told them that he couldn't in good conscience award shared custody. He was also worried that they would try to run off with her. Next, because of all the unprovoked aggression towards me, my protection order was granted. My mother-in-law, who stayed beside me in court, is the one who volunteered to facilitate a supervised visit until my divorce becomes final. Unless it is strictly about my daughter, if Carla and James try to contact me again, then they both will go to jail. James has to pay me child support. Of course, he tried to protest it, but that got nowhere. Lastly, after court, James said something about our daughter that kind of broke my heart. He said that if he can't have primary custody, then he is going to petition to terminate his rights. He doesn't want to be tied to me anymore and is willing to let my daughter suffer for it. So my daughter just pretty much lost her father because he would rather break away from me and pretend that I don't exist. I have some additional information from Carla that she said to me afterward. Apparently, she is infertile due to an illness she suffered from as a teenager. She wanted a baby so badly that she tried to get me out of the picture so that they could play happy family with my daughter. I was stunned. She then asked me if I was happy for tearing your family apart. I had to look at her for a second. She tore my family apart. I wanted to slap her so badly. Because of her, my daughter is probably going to lose her father. I'm sad. Update 4. My soon-to-be ex-husband has been hospitalized. Carla called me this morning, crying, despite the protective order. James tried to unalive himself this morning, and she found him just in time. He is now in the hospital. The doctors don't know how long he will be there, but I will keep my hopes up for a speedy recovery. Despite the literal hell he has put me through, he is still the father of my daughter. I'm not pressing charges this time against Carla because it was a dire emergency. James is stable and they are transferring him to another facility for the foreseeable future. I feel almost sorry for her. Update 5. It has been 2 weeks since James was hospitalized. Since we have put divorce proceedings on hold for a while until he gets out of the hospital, I've been taking the steps to spend time with my daughter and my in-laws, who have been my rocks in this situation. Life has stabilized for me for a bit. I'm still acclimating to my DID diagnosis. I've been out of it for a few days now, due to some heavy-duty painkillers. Carla has been arrested and is being charged with breaking a protective order, aggravated assault, and attempted kidnapping, plus a whole slew of other charges. Here is what happened. I was out and about in town yesterday, trying to get a few errands done. I started to feel hungry and decided to get some food at my favorite spot. It's a small Italian restaurant that I used to go to with my husband before the divorce proceedings started. I ordered my food and sat down to wait for my order. As my food was being handed to me, I saw Carla storm in like she owned the place, and then she decided to confront me. She was hysterical and I couldn't make sense of what she was trying to say. She then started to punch and kick me. To make a long story short, Carla broke my nose and arm, fractured my left eye socket, and punctured a lung. When she realized what she had done, she panicked and tried to take my stroller while I was fighting to stay conscious. Someone saw what she was trying to do and stopped her before she could escape. I woke up to the police in my room and my in-laws holding my daughter. The police filled me in on what happened and now Carla is in jail awaiting a court hearing. Because of the nature of my injuries, the police are taking the decision to press charges out of my hands. Not that I try to drop the charges anyway. Update 6. Carla is still sitting in jail. She is facing some serious prison time and I'm so happy that I can put her behind me. I also got out of the hospital a day and a half ago. James has been receptive to treatment and will be leaving the hospital next Monday. My mother-in-law has been keeping me up to date on his condition and he is stable now. A lot of people were right. Carla took advantage of his manic episode and his need for a stronger dosage of his medicine by convincing him to sleep with her. He has since broken up with her and begged his mother to tell me that he wants another chance to be my husband. That's why she attacked me the other day. She couldn't handle his rejection. To be clear, I'm not giving him another chance. He destroyed my trust by not only cheating on me, but by refusing his medicines for a while and threatening me and our daughter. I'm still going through with the divorce, but I may go to counseling to review the custody arrangement and give him more supervised visitation. He's still her father, after all. Also, I got a job. I was told I got the position the day before I was released from the hospital. Update 7. James just got out of the hospital and he is staying at his home, alone. He is so miserable now that he has lost everything. His mom and stepdad have cut him off for the most part except during visits with our daughter. His mom told me that he is going to sign away his rights once I get married again, if that is what I want. According to her, he wants to reconcile but knows that I'm not willing to do so. He wants his life back to the way it was before this whole Carla debacle started. He isn't fighting custody at all, either. He doesn't want any more visitation than he already has, and is willing to pay child support and alimony to speed up the divorce. He is cognizant of the damage he has done to our family. My mother cheated on my father and it broke up my family before I was old enough to remember. Their divorce was final when I was only a year old and my mother abandoned me. I cannot stand cheaters. They destroy lives. James understands this, too. Cheating is that hard line for me, so James knew he messed up. I have an appointment on Friday to discuss with my lawyer the terms of our divorce and formalizing custody. James's parents are helping me with arrangements for my own apartment.